thing wobbin', wobbin', wobbin'. When I come around, got the whole thing wobbin'.
What is going on, guys? It is Zirksee today with another YouTube video. Today we have Team of the Week predictions, and this is definitely going to be a very good Team of the Week. But if you guys want to get yourself a CC just like the one you see on your screen right now, Brandon Graham, make sure to go to the link in the description to go to Combine Artworks on Twitter. He will hook you up with one of these. But let's get into it. So, of course, the master that I'm going with is going to be Brandon Graham for the defense. 5 tackles, a sack, and a forced fumble. I believe the Eagles actually announced they're trying to extend his contract, which I definitely would if I was the Eagles. He's definitely one of the better pass rushers in the NFL, and at the strong safety position, we're going with Eric Reid with 7 tackles, an interception, and a pass defense, and definitely would be a very good card because Eric Reid cards are really always pretty dang good, like the combine cards that he always gets every single year. And definitely Eric Reid would be a very good card. Free safety, Corey Graham, 2 tackles, an interception, and a pass defense. Stephon Gilmore, a tackle, an interception, and 2 pass defense. That would definitely be a pretty good card as well. Definitely a very fast cornerback, and definitely like to see that card. Nate Hairston, 5 tackles, an interception, and 2 pass defense. Then we have Danico Autry with 3 tackles and 2 sacks. And then next up we have Blake Martinez, which I want to talk about that Packers game for a second. But 15 tackles, an interception, and pass defense. Definitely was a crazy game, the Packers versus Steelers. I don't think anybody thought it would be that close of a game. And Antonio Brown definitely is the reason why the Steelers won that game. Antonio Brown just carried the Steelers on his back and had some great catches. Towards the end of the game, I believe he had like the final 2 catches of the game to get them in a field goal range, and that's how they won the game. It definitely was a crazy game, especially with the fact that Brett Hundley was actually playing about as good as Ben Roethlisberger. I mean, Ben Roethlisberger did have 2 interceptions, but of course, I believe one of those was tipped. I think they may have actually both been tipped passes, but still, very good games for both of them, Big Ben and for Brett Hundley. Definitely Brett Hundley's best career game so far. Then we have John Bostic with 11 tackles and a pass defense. Landon Roberts had 4 tackles and 2 sacks. Takaris McKinley, 2 tackles and a sack. Finally, a rookie should be getting a Team of the Week. Tenny Palapoy, I believe, 2 tackles and a sack. Trey Flowers had 4 tackles, 2 sacks, and also a forced fumble. And then finally for the defense, we have Dalvin Tomlinson, who had 2 tackles and a sack. So to round out the defensive Team of the Week, Brandon Graham is master, Eric Reid, Stephon Gilmore, and then also Takaris McKinley with Trey Flowers. All those guys, in my opinion, should have very good cards, and I'm definitely excited to see. Hopefully, Brandon Graham does get the master, because I feel like this card is going to be absolutely nasty. Now, moving on to the offense, of course, we're going with Julio Jones for the offensive master, and that CC looks absolutely disgusting. But we have Julio Jones, 253 yards and 2 touchdowns. I do believe that he is the only person in NFL history to have more than 1 game with 250 yards, and he has 3. So that is just absolutely crazy. Julio Jones always seems to have like that 1 game a year where he gets like 200 yards, 300 yards, something like that. And I think that this is definitely the week that he will get the Team of the Week hero, and I think that he should, because he hasn't had an upgrade all year just yet. But on to the quarterback, unfortunately for me, we're going with Phillip Rivers. 434 yards and 3 touchdowns versus the Cowboys defense, and definitely has put us in shambles. Anthony Brown getting demoted and Darren McFadden getting cut. Alvin Kamara, 188 total offensive yards and 2 total touchdowns. What's your guys' opinions on the offensive rookie of the year and the defensive rookie of the year? Personally, I think it may go to Alvin Kamara and Marshawn Lattimore. Now, I'm not too sure if that's ever happened before where the one team has both the offensive rookie of the year and the defensive rookie of the year, but I think that the Saints definitely have a chance at making it happen. Now, if Deshaun Watson didn't get injured, probably was going to go to Deshaun Watson. But onto the fullback with Jameez Alawali, who had an 80.1 Pro Football Focus. Robbie Anderson, 146 yards and 2 touchdowns. Jamison Crowder actually had, I think, one of his best games of his career. 141 yards and a touchdown. Rex Burkhead had 51 yards and 2 total touchdowns. Zach Ertz, 103 yards and a touchdown. Then onto the offensive line, we have Sam Young at left tackle with an 83.5 Pro Football Focus. Left guard, Andrew Norwell with an 86.2 Pro Football Focus. Center is going to be Corey Lindsey with an 81.0 Pro Football Focus. And then we have J.R. Sweeps with an 8.1. And Ryan Ramczyk with an 89.2. Those are my Team of the Week predictions for the week. Let me know what you guys think and what your opinions are on the Team of the Week and who you think you would change in that set, or you think that will be the exact set. So I'm going to go over the games that happened this week just to do a little recap. So we have the Vikings versus the Lions, 30-23. Take a look and see the stats on this. Case Keenum, 21 for 30, 282 yards and 2 touchdowns. Now, if you're a Vikings fan, I kind of want your opinion on what you guys think you should do. Should you start Case Keenum still, or should you start Teddy Bridgewater? Personally, I just want to see Teddy Bridgewater play. I want to see how he's doing. But I don't know if he's going to get in the game because honestly, Case Keenum has been playing absolutely amazing. Latavius Murray had 20 carries for 84 yards and a touchdown. McKinnon 13 for 23, not very good. Adam Thielen had 8 for 89, which is kind of a down week for Thielen. You expect over 100 yards every single week from him now. Matt Stafford, 35 attempts, 20 completions, 250 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. And their running game is absolutely terrible. Abdullah had 14 yards, Riddick had 20 yards, and Golden Tate, their wide receiver, actually had 13 yards. And we have Marvin Jones had 6 catches, 109 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Cowboys versus the Chargers, definitely was not a good game for the Cowboys. As I said before, Phillip Rivers, 434 yards and 3 touchdowns. Melvin Gordon had 65 rushing yards. Keenan Allen had 11 catches for 172 yards and a touchdown. Then Hunter Henry had 5 catches for 76 yards and a touchdown. For a second, I thought he was going to get 7 catches and actually get his 92 or 93 overall. Then Dak Prescott, 20 for 27, 179 yards, and 2 interceptions, no touchdowns. Rod Smith had 41 yards and a touchdown. And that's about it for the Cowboys. We played absolutely terrible. Giants versus the Redskins. The Redskins won 20-10. Eli Manning, 113 yards and a pick. And nobody on the team did absolutely anything. Kirk Cousins, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, 242 yards. And Perrine had 100 yards with 24 rushes. But Jamison Crowder definitely took over that game. 7 catches, 141 yards, and a touchdown. The Falcons in the Buccaneers game. Fitzpatrick, 283 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 picks. And Barber actually had 5 rushes for 7 yards, 2 touchdowns. Mike Evans, 6 catches for 78 yards. Then on to Atlanta. Matt Ryan, 35 attempts, 26 completions, 317 yards, and a touchdown. And Mohamed Sanu actually had a passing touchdown. He 1 for 1, 51 yards and a touchdown. And then we have Tevin Coleman, who had 97 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Julio Jones, of course, 12 catches, 253 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Definitely a good game for him. Deshaun Kaiser, surprisingly no interceptions, but 268 yards and 31 attempts on 18 completions versus the Bengals. 95 yards for Isaiah Crowell. And then, of course, Andy Dalton had 2 touchdowns, 214 yards. Joe Mixon actually had 114 yards and a touchdown. So finally, Joe Mixon got a majority of the carries in the game, and he definitely took advantage of his opportunity. Titans versus the Colts. Mariota started off very, very good, looked very, very hot in that game, and he ended up throwing for 2 interceptions, a touchdown, 184 yards, and 17 completions on 25 attempts. Derrick Henry had 13 rushes for 79 yards, and then Delaney Walker had 4 catches for 63 yards and a touchdown. Jacoby Brissett, 196 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 picks. Frank Gore, 17 carries, 62 yards, and a touchdown. Frank Gore really, I don't know how well he keeps doing as well as he is, because honestly, that man's about to retire. Tyrod Taylor, 19 for 29, 183 yards and a touchdown. It's nothing spectacular. LaShawn McCoy had 22 carries but only 49 yards, so Chiefs defense definitely locked them up, but Chiefs still lost the game to the Bills 16-10. Alex Smith, 199 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. Kareem Hunt has been absolutely trash. 11 rushes for 17 yards. He has done absolutely nothing in these last couple of games. Patriots versus the Dolphins. We have Matt Moore with 215 yards, a touchdown, and 2 picks. And then, of course, Tom Brady, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception, surprisingly, and 227 yards. Deion Lewis actually had 112 rushing yards. And Gronkowski finally had a great game, and he had 2 touchdowns, and he also had 5 total catches. So definitely a pretty solid game from Gronkowski. Panthers versus the Jets. This game was actually extremely close. 35-27. Cam Newton didn't even score. He had 168 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 picks. We actually had a rushing touchdown. So he has 1 rushing touchdown, 28 yards. McCaffrey had 62 yards. And Devin Funchess had 108 yards. Josh McCown actually had 307 yards and 3 touchdowns. Rushing-wise, Isaiah Powell. Why did I just say Isaiah Powell? Powell had 34 rushing yards, and Matt Forte had 26 yards. Jermaine Kearse actually had 105 yards and a touchdown. And then, of course, Robbie Anderson, 146 yards and 2 touchdowns. Eagles killed the Bears 31-3. Seahawks beat the 49ers 24-13. Raiders beat the Broncos after Aqib Talib and Michael Crabtree both got ejected, and I believe they're both suspended 2 games. Raiders beat the Broncos 21-14. Rams beat the Saints, definitely a very, very good game, 26-20. Cardinals beat the Jaguars 27-24, and then Steelers beat the Packers 31-28, and finally to round it all off with the Ravens beating the Texans 23-16. So definitely a very, very good week. Thanksgiving was also very, very fun, even though the Cowboys did end up losing that game, unfortunately for me. Still was pretty excited to see football on Thanksgiving. Definitely enjoyed my Thanksgiving dinner. But if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and comment, and let me know exactly what you guys would change from the list of the Team of the Week predictions. And also, if you guys think the Team of the Week predictions is correct, make sure to let me know. Hopefully, Julio Jones and Brandon Graham do get the heroes. But if they do, definitely going to be excited for that. I'll see you guys next time.